Now we're still working on homework number 15, but this is the second video, and this is part 2. So we still need to solve numbers 40 and 41. We just have 2 problems left. So number 40, we're given a table of values where we have 3 values for x. We have 3, 6, and 9, meaning that x is going to equal 3 in this little box, and x will equal to 6 in this little box, and x will equal to 9 in this little box. And we have this tiny little expression down here, x times 8. So for the first number, this means that we have to plug in the value of x as 3 in this little expression and solve it here, right? So let me show you how that works. So we have x times 8, right? But in this little box, we have to make x equal to 3. So then we're going to go ahead and substitute the value for x. In this case, it's 3 times 8, which is 24. So we go ahead and plug in the new value for that box. Now we're going to do the same thing for this little box. In this case, x is no longer 3. It's now 6, right? So we would go ahead and plug in 6 for x and multiply it by 8. I'm using the same expression. So 6 times 8 is 48. So now that we have that value, we can go ahead and plug it in, which is 48, right? How about number 9? We have the same expression, x times 8. X times 8. But for this case, we have to substitute 9 for x. So 9 times 8, which is 72. So we're done with that table of values. Now we can go ahead and move on to number 41. It's also revolving a table of values, and we have the expression 64 divided by 6. Go ahead and take a moment to go ahead and plug in the first value, which is 2. Okay, so we have to write down 64 divided by what is the value that we're using for x. In this case, 2. So that would be 2, right? And 64 divided by 2. Remember that whenever you have a division problem and this number comes first, you're going to go ahead and put that same number that comes first inside the little house of the division sign and put this number outside. So 2 times what number gives us 6? 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, so I subtract that and that's 0. Bring down the 4. So 2 times 2, right, is 4. So we have subtract that and we have no remainder, so that would be the value of 32, right? So 32 times 2 should equal 64. So 64 divided by 2 is 32. Make sense? Now let's go ahead and do the next one together. Now we're plugging in 4 for x, right? So 64 divided by x, we're using the same expression, but now we're going to use 4. 64 divided by 4 is what? Remember, this first number always goes inside the little division house, and then this number goes outside down there, and we're finding the quotient, this number. So 4 times, let's say 1, because 4 times 2 would be too big. That would be 8. 4 times 1 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down the rest, which is 4, and 4 times 1 number is 24. 6. So now we can go ahead and subtract that, and we have 0 as a remainder, so 4 times 16 should give us 64. So we can go ahead and plug in the quotient that we found, which is 16. Now number 8. Now we're going to plug in 8 for 64 divided by 8, right? 64 divided by x, that's our expression, the same, but now we have to plug in this new value, which is 8. So 64 divided by 8 should equal, this one's a little bit easier. This one should be 8, right? Because 8 times 8 is 64. And this one I recall off of the 8 timetables. So 8 times 8 is 64, so we can go ahead and plug in 8. And we have concluded homework number 15, and this is part 2.